My daughter-in-law thought she could get my son's inheritance by keeping me away from his children. But when I found out what she'd been hiding about someone who left our family 5 years ago, someone I love more than life itself, the truth destroyed me. She had not just lied to me once. She had been playing a sick game for years, and I never saw it coming. She thought she had won everything, but she had no idea I was about to make her lose everything she cared about. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you are listening in the comments. 38 years I spent molding young minds as a high school principal, but apparently I never learned how to talk to my own grandchildren. The thought hit me like a slap as I sat in my study that Tuesday night, staring at the family photo on my desk. Just 4 days earlier, everything had seemed perfect. Marcus and Jennifer's annual 4th of July cookout was supposed to be our family tradition. The one day each year when 3 generations gathered in their backyard. I'd arrive at their house in Meadowbrook at 10 that morning, carrying my toolbox and wearing my old World's Greatest Grandpa t-shirt. The shirt was faded now, but I wore it to every family gathering. It made the kids laugh. "Morning, Wayne." Jennifer had called from the kitchen window, her voice carrying that particular tone I'd learned to recognize. Sweet on the surface, but with something sharper underneath. "You're early again." Traffic was lighter than expected. I'd replied, though we both knew I always arrived early. 40 years of school schedules had trained me to be punctual, and besides, I enjoyed helping Marcus set up. The backyard was chaos when I found my son wrestling with a new gazebo. Emma was sitting in the sandbox, methodically destroying the castle she'd built the day before, while Tyler kicked a soccer ball against the fence with determined rhythm. "Need help with that?" I'd asked Marcus, already setting down my toolbox. "Dad, you don't have to." "Nonsense. 2 sets of hands make light work." It was something my father used to say. The gazebo took us an hour to assemble, working in comfortable silence the way we used to when Marcus was young. While we worked, I watched the kids. Emma had abandoned her destruction project and was attempting to build something that looked like a bridge but kept collapsing. "Emma," I called during a break, "what are you building there?" She looked up with those serious brown eyes she'd inherited from Marcus. "A castle, but it keeps falling down." "Mind if I take a look?" For the next hour, Emma and I worked on engineering solutions. I showed her how to pack the sand differently, how to use water to make stronger walls, how to create a foundation that wouldn't shift. She was a natural problem solver, asking thoughtful questions about angles and support structures. "You're really smart, Emma," I told her as we admired our finished castle. "You think like an engineer." "Grandpa Wayne, will you help me build a moat tomorrow?" "If your parents say it's okay, I'd love to." That was when I heard Jennifer's voice in the patio, pitched just loud enough for me to hear. "Let the kids just be kids, Wayne. Not everything has to be a teaching moment." I felt my shoulders tense, but kept my voice level. "We're just having fun." "Of course you are." Her smile was bright and empty. "Emma, sweetie, come help Mommy with the watermelon." Tyler had wandered over while Jennifer was talking, drawn by the castle Emma and I had built. He was fascinated by the engineering aspect, asking questions about load-bearing walls and why some shapes were stronger than others. When Marcus fired up the grill, Tyler naturally gravitated toward me. "Grandpa Wayne, Dad says you know everything about grilling. Will you teach me?" "Your dad's being generous, but I'd be happy to show you what I know." For the next 30 minutes, Tyler and I worked the grill together. I taught him about heat zones, how to tell when the coals were ready, how to flip a burger without losing the juices. He was eager to learn, asking careful questions. "The trick is patience," I told him as he carefully flipped his first burger. "Good things take time." "Like learning piano?" "Exactly like learning piano." Tyler beamed with pride when his burger came out perfectly cooked. He ran to show his parents, and I felt that familiar warmth I'd always associated with teaching, the satisfaction of watching someone master a new skill. The afternoon unfolded the way these gatherings always did. Ruth arrived with her potato salad. Neighbors stopped by. The kids played in the sprinkler while adults sat in lawn chairs, cold beers sweating in the July heat. I thought we were having a perfect day. After dinner, as Ruth was helping Jennifer clear dishes and the kids were chasing fireflies, Marcus touched my arm. "Dad, we need to talk." Something in his tone made my stomach clench. We walked to the far corner of the yard, near the oak tree I'd helped him plant when they first bought the house 12 years ago. "Is everything okay?" I asked. Marcus ran his hand through his hair, the same nervous gesture he'd had since childhood. "It's about the kids, Dad. Jennifer and I have been talking and—" He paused, looking anywhere but at my face. "The kids get nervous when you're around. You're too intense." The words hit me like physical blows. Intense? What do you mean? All the questions, a constant teaching. Tyler came home last month talking about structural integrity because you'd explain how the deck was built. Emma asked Jennifer why she doesn't make her think harder about things the way you do. Marcus's voice was gentle but firm. "They're kids, Dad. They just want to play." I thought about the castle, about Tyler's pride in cooking that burger, about the genuine joy on both their faces. I thought they enjoyed. "I know you think you're helping, but you make everything into a lesson. They feel like they're in school when you're around." My throat felt tight. I never meant to make them uncomfortable. "I know, Dad, but maybe you could dial it back a little? Let them just be kids when you visit." I nodded because I didn't trust my voice. 40 years of marriage to Ruth, 38 years of teaching, of believing I understood how to reach children, and my own grandchildren were nervous around me. The drive home was silent. Ruth knew something was wrong, but she knew me well enough not to push. When we pulled into our driveway, she finally spoke. "What did Marcus want to talk about?" "Nothing important." I lied. Now, sitting in my study at nearly midnight, I stare at the family photo on my desk. Marcus at his college graduation, arm around Jennifer, both of them glowing. Ruth and I flanking them, proud parents who thought we'd done everything right. But there was someone missing from that photo. Someone who'd been missing from our family gatherings for almost 5 years now. I thought about Sarah for the first time in months, wondered if she ever thought about us. Maybe Marcus was right. Maybe I was too intense. Too much the principal and not enough the grandfather. Maybe that's why Sarah had pulled away too. I picked up the photo and studied Marcus's young face, remembering when he used to seek out my advice. When had that changed? When had I become someone my family merely tolerated? Outside, fireworks were still popping in distant neighborhoods. Inside my study, I felt more confined than I had in years, trapped by the possibility that the conversation I'd been avoiding with Ruth about Sarah might be one we needed to have. Sleep didn't come that night. I lay in bed replaying every interaction I'd had with Emma and Tyler over the past year, searching for signs I'd somehow missed. The castle building that had seemed so natural. Had Emma really been uncomfortable? Tyler's eagerness to learn about grilling. Was that genuine interest or politeness masking anxiety? At 3 a.m, I gave up and padded to the kitchen for warm milk. Ruth found me there 20 minutes later, sitting at our kitchen table in my old robe, staring into my mug. "Wayne, honey, what's really going on?" She settled into the chair across from me, her gray hair mussed from sleep, but her eyes alert with concern. After 40 years of marriage, she could read my moods better than I could. "Marcus thinks I'm too intense with the kids, that I make them nervous." Ruth was quiet for a long moment, and something in her silence made my chest tighten. "You've noticed it too," I said. It wasn't a question. Not exactly what Marcus said, but she reached across the table and covered my hand with hers. "I've noticed Jennifer's comments. Little things, but they add up." "What kind of comments?" "Last month, when Tyler was telling us about the science project you helped him with, Jennifer said something about your old-school discipline style. When Emma was excited about the books you recommended, Jennifer mentioned that kids today need more freedom to discover things on their own." Ruth's voice was careful, measured. I didn't want to upset you by mentioning it. The warm milk turned cold in my stomach. "How long has this been going on?" "A year? Maybe longer." At first, I thought I was being oversensitive. Ruth's thumb traced patterns on my knuckles. "But there's been a shift, Wayne. The way they interact with us. The timing of invitations. How often plans seem to change at the last minute. Now that she'd said it, I could see the pattern clearly. 3 months ago, Emma's birthday party had been moved from Sunday to Saturday with only 2 days' notice. Just easier for everyone's schedule. The Mother's Day brunch had somehow become a small, immediate family-only affair. Christmas plans that were still up in the air until the week before. Why didn't you say anything? Because I wanted to believe I was wrong. Ruth's eyes were sad but steady. And because you've been so happy with the grandkids. I didn't want to plant seeds of doubt. But it wasn't her imagination. As I sat there in our quiet kitchen, I remembered the fishing trips Marcus and I used to take when he was Tyler's age. How he begged to come to school with me on teacher work days, fascinated by the mimeograph machine and how I organized my classroom. He followed me around like a shadow, asking endless questions. Dad, when I grow up, I want to be just like you, he'd said once, maybe 12 years old, serious as a judge. When had that changed? When had my methods of connecting with children become something that made my own grandchildren nervous? The phone rang Tuesday afternoon while Ruth was at her book club. Marcus's name appeared on the caller ID, and my heart did that little skip it always did when one of my children called. Hi, Dad. How are you doing? There was something formal in his tone, like he was following a script. I'm fine, son. How are Emma and Tyler? They're good. Listen, Dad, I wanted to follow up on our conversation Sunday. Jennifer and I have been talking about some boundaries we'd like to set when you're around the kids. Boundaries. The word sat heavy between us. What kind of boundaries? Well, maybe less of the teaching stuff. When you're helping with homework or projects, try to let them figure things out on their own more. And during family time, maybe just focus on having fun instead of turning everything into a learning experience. I gripped the phone tighter. Marcus, I thought I was having fun with them. I know, Dad. I know you mean well. But they need space to just be kids sometimes. After we hung up, I sat in my recliner for a long time, staring out the window at our neighbor's garden. Mrs. Patterson was 68 and had been teaching piano for 45 years. Kids lined up after school to take lessons from her, eager to learn. Their parents trusted her to guide their children. What made her different from me? The question nagged at me for days. By Thursday, I'd made a decision. Instead of fighting or defending myself, I would step back and observe. I would watch the dynamics of my son's family with the same analytical eye I'd once used to assess struggling students. The shift from hurt grandfather to investigative principal felt like putting on an old, comfortable jacket. For 38 years, my job had been to see patterns others missed, to understand the underlying causes of behavioral problems, to read between the lines. It was while I was in this new mindset that the memories surfaced. Sarah calling almost 2 years ago, her voice tight with emotion. I'd been grading papers, frustrated by a difficult parent conference, when the phone rang. Dad, I need to talk to you about Marcus and Jennifer. I barely let her get 3 sentences out before I'd cut her off. Sarah, I'm not getting in the middle of whatever this is about. Your brother and his wife are doing their best. But Dad, if you just listen. I'd hung up just like that. Hung up on my own daughter because I was tired and didn't want to deal with what I'd assumed was more family drama. Sarah had always been more emotional than Marcus, more likely to create conflict. Or so I thought. Now, sitting in my study with the analytical part of my brain fully engaged, I wondered what Sarah had been trying to tell me that day. What patterns had she seen that I'd been too distracted to notice? Friday afternoon, I was in my workshop organizing tools when I heard Jennifer's voice through the open window. She was on the phone in their backyard next door, voice carrying over the fence. I know it's frustrating, but we just need to be patient a little longer. Wayne's already starting to back off, and Marcus is finally seeing things our way. I froze, screwdriver halfway to its designated hook. Trust me, it's working better than we hoped. By Christmas, this whole situation will be resolved, and we won't have to worry about any of this anymore. I stood perfectly still until I heard their back door close, then slowly finished hanging up the screwdriver. My hands were steady, but my mind was racing, patient a little longer for what? What situation needed to be resolved by Christmas? And who was the we Jennifer kept referring to? For the first time since Sunday's confrontation, I felt something other than hurt and confusion. I felt the sharp, focused attention that had made me a good principal, the ability to sense when there was more to the story than what appeared on the surface. Something was happening in my family, something larger than my supposed intensity with the grandchildren, and Jennifer was at the center of it. My strategic withdrawal began the following Monday. When Jennifer called to invite us to Tyler's soccer game, I politely declined, claiming Ruth and I had other plans. When Marcus suggested we join them for dinner Thursday, I kept the conversation brief and non-committal. Maybe next week, son. Your mother and I are pretty tired these days. The relief in his voice was subtle but unmistakable. Of course, Dad. No problem at all. We'll talk soon. Ruth noticed immediately. She found me in the garden that evening, mechanically deadheading roses that didn't need attention. You're pulling back, she said, settling onto the wooden bench I'd built her for our 20th anniversary. I'm giving them space. Isn't that what they wanted? And how do you feel about that? I looked at my wife of 40 years, this woman who'd stood beside me through every challenge. Her face was sad but determined, ready to support whatever decision I made. Honest? It breaks my heart. But maybe it's for the best. Maybe, she said quietly. But Wayne, don't lose yourself in trying to be what they think they want. The next few days, I found myself driving through our old neighborhood, the one where we'd raised Marcus and Sarah, past the elementary school where they both learned to read, the park where I'd taught them to ride bikes, the corner store where they'd spent their allowances on candy. I ended up at Millfield High, my old school, though I'd been retired for 8 years. The building looked smaller than I remembered, somehow diminished, but the memories were sharp and clear. Wayne Mitchell, what brings you back to this asylum? I turned to find Frank Rodriguez approaching, my old colleague and closest friend from my teaching days. Frank had taken over as principal when I retired, and seeing his familiar face felt like coming home, just driving around, remembering better days. I said, "Coffee? I've got 20 minutes before the next crisis hits." We sat in his office, my old office, while Frank poured coffee from the same pot I'd used for years. The desk was different. The photos were his family instead of mine, but the essence remained unchanged. "You look troubled, my friend," Frank said, settling into his chair. "What's going on?" I found myself telling him everything. The cookout confrontation, Marcus's phone call about boundaries, Jennifer's subtle comments, my growing sense that something larger was happening. Frank listened without interruption, his dark eyes thoughtful and patient. "You know what strikes me?" he said when I finished. "In all of this, you haven't mentioned Sarah once. Sarah's been out of our lives for years. This is about Marcus and the grandkids. Is it?" Frank leaned forward. "Wayne, in 30 years of friendship, I've watched you solve problems by looking at all the variables, not just the obvious ones. Sometimes the apple falls far from the tree. Wayne, look at your own kids." His words hit me like a physical blow. Sarah. How had I not been thinking about Sarah? That night, I sat in my study and forced myself to remember the fight 5 years ago. Sarah had been going through her divorce, a painful process that had stretched over months. She called frequently, needing support, wanted to talk through her fears and frustrations. "Dad, I just need to know the family is behind me," she'd said during one particularly difficult conversation. "Robert's lawyer is trying to paint me as unstable, and I need character witnesses." I'd been ready to help, ready to write letters and make calls, when Marcus had intervened. "Dad, you need to be careful getting involved in Sarah's drama," he'd warned me. "She's always been prone to exaggeration, and Robert's actually a decent guy. Maybe she's not telling you the whole story." Jennifer had been even more direct. "Wayne, I hate to say this, but Sarah's always been jealous of Marcus's success. She's trying to pull you into her mess, because she can't handle her problems on her own." The comments had continued for weeks, subtle but persistent. Sarah was dramatic. Sarah was always causing problems. Sarah was trying to manipulate the family into taking sides. I'd started to believe them. When Sarah called crying about her lawyer's fees, I'd suggested she figure out herself. When she'd asked me to attend mediation sessions for moral support, I declined, saying it wasn't my place to get involved. By the time her divorce was final, our relationship was in shambles. Sarah had stopped calling, stopped visiting, stopped being part of our family. I'd told myself it was her choice, that she pulled away because she couldn't handle not getting her way. But now, sitting in my study with Frank's words echoing in my mind, I wondered if I'd been manipulated into abandoning my own daughter. The next morning, I did something I hadn't done in years. Research. I pulled out my laptop and started learning about inheritance law, estate planning, family trusts. What I discovered made my blood run cold. My estate was worth approximately $1.2 million. The house Ruth and I had bought for $47,000 in 1985 was now valued at $380,000. My teacher's pension, my 403b, Ruth's small inheritance from her parents, the life insurance policies we'd maintained for decades, it all added up to more money than I'd realized. Much more than Marcus and Jennifer realized, apparently. I was still absorbing this information when I heard voices in the backyard next door. Jennifer was on the phone again, but this time I recognized the other voice when she switched to speaker. Her sister Diane, visiting from Phoenix. "I still think you're taking too big a risk," Diane was saying. "What if he doesn't change the will?" "He will," Jennifer replied confidently. "Marcus has been working on him for months, and Wayne's already starting to pull back from the family. He feels guilty about being too intense with the kids." But what about Sarah? She could contest it. Sarah's been out of the picture for 5 years. She has no relationship with Wayne anymore. No claim to being the dutiful daughter. Once the old man writes her out completely, we'll be set. Marcus will inherit everything, and Sarah won't have a leg to stand on. I gripped the windowsill, so hard my knuckles went white. How much longer do you think it'll take? Not long. I'm going to suggest Wayne update his will for tax purposes before the end of the year. Marcus thinks his father's estate is maybe worth $300,000, but I've done the research. It's closer to $1.2 million. Jesus, Jen, that's real money. Exactly. And all I had to do was convince Marcus that his father favors Sarah and that the kids are uncomfortable around Wayne. Marcus wants to be the good son, the loyal one. He doesn't even realize I'm steering him. What if Wayne figures it out? Jennifer's laugh was cold and calculating. Wayne Mitchell? He's a retired high school principal who thinks everyone tells the truth and plays fair. He spent his whole career trusting people and believing the best in them. He'll never see this coming. I stepped back from the window, my heart pounding with a mixture of rage and clarity. Jennifer hadn't just been making comments about my intensity with the grandchildren. She'd been systematically destroying my relationship with Sarah while positioning Marcus as a devoted son who deserved to inherit everything. And I'd let her do it. More than that, I'd helped her do it by cutting Sarah out of my life, by believing Marcus's version of events, by trusting Jennifer's assessment of my daughter's character. For the first time in years, I thought about Sarah not as the difficult daughter who'd cause family drama, but as a young woman who'd called her father for help during the worst period of her life and been turned away. The question was, what else had Jennifer manipulated? How deep did this deception go? And what would I find if I actually tried to contact Sarah after all these years? The phone number was still in my address book, written in my careful teacher's handwriting. Sarah Mitchell Caldwell, Seattle, Washington. I stared at it for 3 days before finding the courage to dial. It was Thursday evening when I finally made the call. Ruth was at her quilting circle, and the house felt too quiet. My finger hovered over the numbers for a full minute before I pressed them. "Hello?" Sarah's voice was cautious, professional. I realized she probably didn't recognize our home number anymore. "Sarah, it's Dad." The silence stretched so long, I wondered if the call had dropped. "Dad." Her voice was smaller now, uncertain. "Is everything okay? Is Mom all right?" Even after 5 years of estrangement, her first concern was for our welfare. The realization hit me like a punch to the chest. "We're fine, sweetheart. I called because I need to talk to you about some things. About our family." Another pause. "I'm not sure what there is to talk about, Dad." You made your position pretty clear the last time we spoke. I know I did, and I think I made a mistake. I heard her breath catch. What kind of mistake? The kind that's taken me 5 years to recognize. Sarah, can you tell me what really happened during your divorce? What you tried to tell me that day when I hung up on you? The silence was different this time. Not cautious, but filled with years of hurt trying to decide whether to trust. Why are you asking now? Because I'm starting to think I didn't get the whole story back then. And because I miss my daughter. When Sarah finally spoke, her voice was thick with tears. Dad, I tried to tell you so many times. Robert wasn't just divorcing me. He was trying to destroy me. His lawyer was painting me as an unfit mother, saying I was emotionally unstable because I cried during depositions. They were threatening to take custody away from me. Take custody? Sarah, you never mentioned. I tried to. I sent you letters explaining everything. I called you crying, begging for character references, asking you to write a letter to the court about what kind of mother I was. But you said it wasn't your place to get involved. My throat felt tight. I thought you were being dramatic. Dramatic? Her laugh was bitter. Dad, I was fighting for my child. I needed my family's support, and instead I got lectures about not dragging everyone into my mess. Your child. My heart stopped. Sarah, what child? Lucy, Dad. My daughter. Your granddaughter. She was 2 when Robert and I divorced. She's 7 now. I gripped the phone so hard my knuckles ached. I have a granddaughter? Sarah, why didn't you tell me? I tried to. I sent you birth announcements, photos, birthday invitations. I called you when she was born, when she took her first steps, when she started talking. But you never responded to anything. Her voice broke. I thought you just didn't care about us anymore. I never received any of that. No birth announcements, no photos, no invitations. That's impossible. I sent them to the house, Dad. The same address where you've lived for 20 years. My mind raced. Thinking about Jennifer's access to our mail, her offers to help Ruth with errands. Sarah, tell me exactly what you sent and when. For the next 20 minutes, Sarah detailed 5 years of attempted contact. Birth announcements in 2018. Christmas cards every year. Photos of Lucy's first day of school, her ballet recitals, her soccer games. Birthday party invitations that had been returned to sender. Letters explaining her divorce situation, asking for emotional support. I even sent a video of Lucy saying, I love you, Grandpa Wayne, for your birthday 2 years ago. When that came back unopened, I stopped trying. Sarah, I swear to you, I never saw any of those letters or photos. If I had known about Lucy, if I had understood what you were going through. But you did know what I was going through. I called you crying, and you told me to figure out myself. You said it wasn't your place to get involved in my drama. The word hit me like a slap. Drama. Jennifer's word, not mine. But I'd used it. Who told you I was being dramatic? Marcus did. And Jennifer. They said I'd always been prone to exaggeration, that I was trying to manipulate the family into taking sides against Robert. I paused, forcing myself to continue. Jennifer said I was jealous of Marcus's success and stability. Jealous? Sarah's laugh was sharp. Dad, I'm a partner in one of Seattle's most successful architecture firms. I own a house in Queen, and with a view of the Sound. Lucy goes to private school and takes violin lessons. I'm hardly struggling. You're successful? Very successful. I've been featured in Architectural Digest twice. My firm designed a new children's hospital downtown. But none of that mattered when I needed my family support during the worst period of my life. I closed my eyes, seeing clearly for the first time how completely I'd failed my daughter. Sarah, I don't know how to make this right. I don't know if you can, Dad. Do you have any idea what it's like to have your father hang up on you when you're begging for help? To send your child's photos to her grandfather and have them return unopened? Return unopened? Sarah, I never... Check with your post office, Dad. Or better yet, ask Jennifer. The pieces clicked into place with sickening clarity. Jennifer had been intercepting our mail. returning Sarah's letters and packages, ensuring we never saw evidence of our granddaughter's existence. Sarah, I need to see you. I need to meet Lucy. Dad, I know I don't deserve it, but please, let me try to fix this. 3 days later, I was on a plane to Seattle. I told Ruth I was visiting my old Army buddy Tom in Portland, a lie that sat heavy in my stomach. But I needed to see Sarah and Lucy without Jennifer's knowledge, without giving her a chance to interfere. Sarah met me at the airport, and for a moment we just stared at each other. She looked older, more confident, but her eyes held the same wariness I'd heard in her voice. Hi, Dad. Hi, sweetheart. The drive to her house was awkward, filled with careful small talk about the weather and my flight. But when we pulled into her driveway, a beautiful craftsman home with a well-tended garden, a little girl came running out the front door. Mommy, is this him? Sarah knelt down and scooped up the most beautiful child I'd ever seen. Dark hair like Sarah's, but Marcus's serious brown eyes. She was perfect. Lucy, this is Grandpa Wayne, the one I told you about. Lucy studied me with the frank curiosity of a 7-year-old. You're really tall, and you have white hair like Santa Claus. I suppose I do, I said, kneeling down to her level. It's very nice to meet you, Lucy. Mommy says you live far away, but you still love us even though we don't see each other much. I looked at Sarah, grateful for the grace she'd shown in explaining my absence. That's right, and I'm very sorry we haven't seen each other much. Well, you're here now, Lucy said with the practical acceptance of childhood. Do you want to see my room? I have a dollhouse Mommy built for me. For the next 2 hours, Lucy showed me her world. The dollhouse Sarah had designed and built herself. The photo album full of pictures, birthday parties, school plays, family vacations, that should have been shared with us. The artwork covering her bedroom walls, the books on her shelves, the violin she was learning to play. Will you come to my recital next month, Grandpa Wayne? I'd love to, I said, though I had no idea how to make that happen. Sarah and I talked after Lucy went to bed, sitting on her deck overlooking the city lights. She told me about building her firm from nothing, about the custody battle she'd won, about raising Lucy alone while Robert moved across the country and forgot he had a daughter. I'm proud of you, I said. I'm so sorry I wasn't there to support you. I needed you, Dad, more than I've ever needed anyone. I know, and I failed you completely. When I left the next morning, Lucy hugged me tight. When will you come back, new Grandpa? Soon, I promised. Very soon. On the plane home, I stared out the window and planned. Jennifer had stolen 5 years from my relationship with Sarah and Lucy. She'd manipulated me into abandoning my daughter when she needed me most. But she'd made one crucial mistake. She'd underestimated Wayne Mitchell. Ruth was waiting when I got home, her face carefully neutral. How was Tom? Fine, I said. Just fine. But I noticed Jennifer's car in Marcus's driveway, and when I looked out the kitchen window an hour later, I saw her watching our house from their back patio. She knew something was different. The question was, how much time did I have before she figured out what? The performance began the moment I walked back into my house. Wayne Mitchell, the defeated grandfather who'd finally learned his place. I shuffled a little more than usual, let my shoulders sag, spoke in subdued tones of a man who'd accepted his failures. But inside, my mind was crystal clear and coldly focused. First, I told Ruth everything. We sat at our kitchen table Tuesday morning, and I laid out the whole story. Jennifer's manipulation, Sarah's intercepted letters, Lucy's existence, the inheritance scheme. Ruth's face went through a dozen emotions before settling on quiet fury. That witch, she whispered. She's been coming into our home, going through our mail, lying to our faces. I need your help, I said. Can you act normal around them while I gather evidence? Evidence. I'm going to document everything. Every lie, every manipulation, every intercepted piece of mail. When this is over, there won't be any question about what really happened. Ruth reached across the table and squeezed my hand. What do you need me to do? Over the next few days, I became a man transformed. Not visibly, that would have tipped them off, but internally, I was back in principal mode, the calm, methodical investigator who'd spent decades uncovering the truth behind teenage lies and parental deceptions. I set up a small digital recorder in my shirt pocket before every family interaction. I installed a motion-activated security camera in our front window, angled to catch anyone approaching our mailbox. I started keeping a detailed log of every conversation, every subtle manipulation, every piece of evidence. Wednesday afternoon, Marcus called. His timing was too convenient to be coincidental. "Hey, Dad. Just wanted to check in, see how you're doing." "I'm fine, son. A little tired, but fine. You seemed a bit off when Jennifer saw you getting out of your car yesterday, like you'd been traveling or something." Jennifer had been watching. I kept my voice carefully neutral. "Just went to visit Tom Peterson in Portland. My old army buddy. Haven't seen him in years." "Oh, that's nice. How is Tom?" "Not well, actually. Prostate cancer." Made me think about how short life is. How family is the only thing that really matters. It was exactly what Marcus wanted to hear. His father, humbled and grateful for the family he had left. "Dad, I'm glad you're thinking that way. Jennifer and I have been worried about you since the cookout. You don't need to worry about me, son. I'm learning to step back, like you suggested. Give everyone some space." That's really mature of you, Dad. I appreciate it." After we hung up, I sat back in my chair, satisfied. Marcus would report back to Jennifer that her strategy was working perfectly. 2 days later, she made her move. "Wayne, I've been thinking," Jennifer said Friday evening. She'd come over with Marcus and the kids for dinner, playing the devoted daughter-in-law perfectly. "With everything that's been happening, thinking about family and legacy, maybe it's time you updated your will." I looked up from my meatloaf, plain confused. "My will, for tax purposes mostly. Estate laws have changed a lot since you first wrote it. You could probably save Marcus a lot of headaches down the road if you modernize things a bit. I haven't really thought about it. I know it's not pleasant to think about, but..." Jennifer's voice was all sweetness and concern. "I actually know a really good estate attorney. She could review everything, make sure your wishes are protected." Marcus nodded along, clearly coached. "It's not a bad idea, Dad, just to make sure everything's in order. I suppose it couldn't hurt to have someone take a look." "Perfect. I'll give her a call Monday and set up an appointment." That weekend, I made my own appointment with my actual estate attorney, Patricia Hendricks, whom I'd used for 20 years. Patricia was sharp-eyed and discreet, exactly what I needed. "Wayne, good to see you. What can I do for you? I need to ask you something confidential. Has anyone been calling your office asking about my will or estate?" Patricia frowned. "That's an odd question." "Actually, yes. About 3 weeks ago, a woman called claiming to be your daughter-in-law. She said she was helping you organize your financial documents and needed to know the basic structure of your will." "What did you tell her?" "Nothing, of course. I told her she'd need written authorization from you to discuss any details. She seemed quite put out about it." "What name did she give?" "Jennifer Mitchell. She was very persistent, actually. Called back twice." My blood ran cold. Jennifer had been actively investigating my will for weeks, probably months. This wasn't opportunistic manipulation. It was a calculated campaign. "Patricia, I need you to prepare some documents for me, but I need absolute confidentiality." "Of course. What kind of documents?" That evening, I tested my new security camera by checking the recording from earlier in the day. The image quality was perfect, and the motion sensor worked exactly as advertised. Anyone approaching our mailbox would be clearly visible. I didn't have to wait long. Tuesday morning, while Ruth and I were supposedly at the grocery store, we'd actually parked around a corner and walked back. I watched through our kitchen window as Jennifer let herself into our yard through the side gate. She went straight to our mailbox, flipped through the contents, and pulled out 2 pieces of mail. One looked like a card. The other was a manila envelope with Seattle return address. Sarah had sent more photos of Lucy. I had Jennifer's theft on video. That afternoon, my phone rang. Jennifer's voice was sugar sweet, with an undertone of steel. Wayne, I scheduled that appointment with the state attorney for Thursday at 2. I thought Marcus and I could drive you. Make sure you don't miss anything important. That's very thoughtful of you. Oh, and I've been thinking about your will structure. Since Sarah hasn't been part of the family for so long, it might make sense to streamline things. Focus on the grandchildren who are actually in your life. There it was. The direct push to write Sarah out completely. I'll have to think about it, I said. Of course. But Wayne, Marcus has been such a devoted son. He deserves to know his loyalty is appreciated. Thursday came, and I played my part perfectly. At Jennifer's recommended lawyer's office, a young woman who clearly had no idea she was being used. I asked all the right questions about tax implications and beneficiary structures. Jennifer sat beside me, taking notes, making suggestions, positioning herself as a helpful family member, just looking out for everyone's interests. The simplest approach, the lawyer suggested, would be to name your son as primary beneficiary, with his children as contingent beneficiaries. Clean, straightforward, no complications. What about my daughter? I asked, as if the thought had just occurred to me. Jennifer jumped in smoothly. Sarah's been estranged from the family for years, Wayne. She made her choice when she cut off contact. Marcus has been here for you through everything. I nodded slowly, like an old man accepting a painful truth. I suppose you're right. I can draft new documents, the lawyer offered. Very simple structure, just like we discussed. That sounds fine, I said. Jennifer's smile was triumphant. She thought she'd won. That night, I was in my workshop when I heard Jennifer's voice through the window again. She was on the phone with someone, and her tone was gleeful. Mom, it worked perfectly. He's going to sign new will documents next week. Sarah will be completely written out, and Marcus will inherit everything. Are you sure he won't change his mind? He's guilt-ridden about being too intense with the grandkids, and I've convinced Marcus that Wayne always favored Sarah anyway. Marcus actually believes his father resents his success. My hand tightened on the wrench I was holding. Jennifer had been poisoning my relationship with Marcus from both sides, telling me Marcus found me too intense, telling Marcus I favored Sarah and resented him. What if Sarah contests the will? She won't have grounds. She's had no contact with Wayne for 5 years, no relationship with the family. Any judge will see that Marcus is a devoted son who deserves to inherit. How much did you say it was worth? At least $1.2 million. Marcus has no idea. He thinks maybe $300,000 at most. Jennifer, you're brilliant. I know. And the best part is, Wayne thinks this is all his idea. He has no clue he's being played. I stood in my workshop, listening to my son's wife celebrate her manipulation of our family, and felt something settle into place inside me. Something cold and final, and absolutely certain. Friday morning, Jennifer called with barely contained excitement. Wayne, I have the new will documents ready for you to review. Why don't you come over this afternoon? We can go through everything together. All right, I said. I'll be there at 3. Perfect. And Wayne, this is really the right thing to do. Marcus will be so grateful. As I hung up the phone, I thought about Lucy asking when new grandpa would visit again, about Sarah sending photos that Jennifer stole from our mailbox, about 5 years of lost time with my daughter and granddaughter. Jennifer thought she was about to win everything. She had no idea the game had changed. I arrived at Marcus and Jennifer's house at exactly 3 o'clock Friday afternoon, carrying myself like a man resigned to an unpleasant but necessary task. Jennifer met me at the door, practically vibrating with excitement disguised as concern. Wayne, come in. I have everything laid out in the dining room. The documents were spread across their mahogany table, like a feast Jennifer couldn't wait to devour. New will, new power of attorney, new beneficiary designations. All prepared by her hand-picked attorney, all designed to cut Sarah out of our family forever. I read through each page slowly, letting Jennifer explain the benefits of each change. According to these documents, Marcus would inherit the house, all financial assets and personal property. Emma and Tyler would receive trust funds for college. Sarah wasn't mentioned anywhere. It's much cleaner this way, Jennifer said, watching my face carefully. No complications, no potential for family disputes down the line. I see. I set the papers down and folded my hands. I need time to think about this. Jennifer's smile flickered. Think about what? It's straightforward estate planning, Wayne. Very standard stuff. It's a big decision. I want to sleep on it. But Wayne, Jennifer's voice developed an edge. Sarah abandoned this family years ago. She made her choice when she stopped visiting. Stopped calling. Marcus has been loyal. He's been here for you through everything. I activated the digital recorder in my pocket with a subtle movement. I understand that, but... Do you? Jennifer stood up, her mask slipping for the first time. Because sometimes I wonder if you really see how devoted Marcus has been. How he's put his own family second to take care of you and Ruth. Sarah never did that. She was always too busy with her own drama to think about anyone else. Jennifer, you need to stop living in the past. The words burst out of her like water through a cracked dam. Sarah doesn't care about this family. She proved that when she cut off all contact. But Marcus has been here, day after day, letting you interfere with his children even when it made him uncomfortable because he loves you. I blinked, plain confused. Interfere? The constant teaching, the way you turn every interaction into a lesson. Do you think that's easy for Marcus to watch? Do you think he enjoys having to set boundaries with his own father? Because you can't just let kids be kids. Every word was being recorded. Jennifer's true feelings about me, about Marcus, about the grandchildren. Her contempt was finally showing. I didn't realize. Of course you didn't. You've been too busy playing favorites to notice. Jennifer caught herself, but it was too late. I'm sorry, Wayne. I didn't mean to. I just want what's best for this family. I know you do. I stood up slowly. I'll call you Monday with my decision. That weekend, I arranged a meeting with my real estate attorney, Patricia Hendricks. What she told me confirmed my worst suspicions. Wayne, that woman has been very persistent. 3 separate calls over the past 2 months, asking about property assessments, inheritance tax implications, even questions about how quickly estates typically settle. She used my name. She said she was helping you with financial planning. When I insisted on written authorization, she became quite angry, said she was just trying to help family members understand their potential responsibilities. Jennifer had been researching my estate value, tax implications, and settlement timelines for months. This wasn't opportunistic greed. It was a comprehensive plan she'd been executing for years, probably since before Sarah's divorce. Sunday night, I made 2 phone calls. The first was to Sarah. Hi, Dad. How are things? They're about to get interesting. Sarah, I need to ask you something important. Would you and Lucy like to come here for Christmas? The silence stretched for nearly 30 seconds. Dad, are you sure? It's been 5 years. I'm sure. It's time our family was whole again. What about Marcus and Jennifer? They've made it pretty clear I'm not welcome. Let me worry about Marcus and Jennifer. Will you come? Lucy would love to meet her cousins. And yes, Dad, will come. The second call was to Marcus. I waited until Monday evening, when I knew Jennifer would be listening. Marcus, I want to let you know Sarah and Lucy will be joining us for Christmas this year. The explosion was immediate. What? Dad, you can't be serious. She's my daughter, Marcus. I've missed too many Christmases with her. But Dad, after everything that's happened, I heard Jennifer's voice in the background, urgent and angry, though I couldn't make out the words. Marcus came back on the line. Dad, Jennifer doesn't think this is a good idea. Sarah's presence will just create tension, especially for kids. The kids deserve to know their aunt and cousin. What cousin? I'd let that slip deliberately. Sarah has a daughter, Marcus. Lucy. She's 7 years old, and she's your niece. More muffled conversation. Then Marcus again, his voice strained. Dad, we need to talk about this in person. This is a lot to process. Come over tomorrow evening. We'll discuss it then. Tuesday night, Marcus and Jennifer arrived looking like they were heading to a funeral. Jennifer's face was tight with barely controlled anger, while Marcus just looked confused and overwhelmed. Dad, Marcus began, this Sarah situation. It's not a situation, son. It's your sister coming home for Christmas. Jennifer leaned forward. Wayne, I need to be direct with you. It's her or us. You can't have both. What do you mean? I mean if Sarah comes for Christmas, we won't be there. The kids won't be there. You'll have to choose. I let the silence stretch, appearing torn and conflicted. Finally, I spoke in a voice heavy with resignation. I see. Jennifer sensed victory. Her voice became soothing, persuasive. Think about Emma and Tyler, Wayne. Think about all the Christmases you've shared with them, all the traditions you've built. Think about their college funds, their future, the legacy you're building with Marcus. Sarah missed so many years, Marcus added, clearly coached. She chose to stay away. But we've been here, Dad. We've been your family. I know you have. I rubbed my forehead like a man under enormous pressure. Maybe you're right. Maybe I'm being sentimental about Sarah. You are, Jennifer said quickly. She'll just bring drama and complications. This family has found its balance without her, but I already invited her. So uninvite her, Jennifer said. Tell her something came up. She'll understand. She's used to being disappointed by family. I flinched at the cruelty of that comment, but kept my voice steady. I can't just uninvite her. But perhaps this could be one last chance. To see if she's really changed, if she can be part of this family without causing problems. Marcus and Jennifer exchanged a look. What do you mean? Marcus asked. Christmas dinner. Both families together. If Sarah can't handle that, if she causes any drama or makes the kids uncomfortable, then... I let my voice trail off meaningfully. Then what? Jennifer pressed. Then I'll know I made the wrong choice 5 years ago when I let her back into my life. Jennifer's eyes lit up. She thought she was about to win the ultimate victory. Not just Sarah's permanent exile, but Wayne's public acknowledgement that choosing Marcus had been right all along. And if she does cause problems? Jennifer asked, then I'll sign those papers we discussed. The new will, everything. Marcus deserves to know his loyalty is appreciated. Dad, Marcus said softly, are you sure about this? I'm sure. One last chance for Sarah to prove she belongs in this family. If she can't, I shrugged sadly. Then at least I'll know I tried. Jennifer could barely contain her glee. I think that's very fair, Wayne. Very mature of you. There's just one thing, I added. Sarah doesn't know about any of this. About the tension. About having to prove herself. I want this to be natural, not forced. Of course, Jennifer agreed quickly. We'll be perfectly civil. Won't we, Marcus? Marcus nodded, though he looked uncomfortable with the whole arrangement. After they left, I sat in my study and opened the folder Patricia had prepared for me. My real will, the one that would ensure Jennifer's plans crumbled to dust. The one that would give Sarah and Lucy the security they deserved while teaching Marcus and Jennifer a lesson about loyalty and family. Christmas was 3 weeks away. 3 weeks for Jennifer to plan what she thought would be Sarah's final humiliation and permanent exile from our family. She had no idea she was walking into her own trap. I picked up the phone to call Sarah, to let her know about the family dynamics she'd be walking into. She deserved to be prepared for what was coming. But first, I needed to make sure my own preparations were complete, because when Christmas dinner was over, there would be no question about who truly belonged in the Mitchell family. Christmas morning dawned gray and cold, matching the tension that had been building in our house for weeks. Ruth and I had been up since 5, preparing the turkey and setting the dining room table for 8. The first time in 5 years our family would be complete. Jennifer arrived early with Marcus and the kids, her smile so bright it could have powered our Christmas tree. She hugged me with theatrical warmth, playing the devoted daughter-in-law perfectly. Merry Christmas, Wayne. I brought your favorite green bean casserole. Her voice carried just the right note of family tradition and loving concern. That's very thoughtful, Jennifer. Emma and Tyler were excited about the mysterious relatives they'd be meeting, though Jennifer had clearly coached them. Now remember, I heard her tell Tyler, Aunt Sarah has been away for a long time. She might seem a little different. Marcus paced the living room like a man waiting for a verdict, checking his watch every few minutes. Dad, are you sure about this? I'm sure, son. At noon, a taxi pulled into our driveway. Through the window, I watched Sarah help Lucy out of the back seat, both of them bundling against a December wind. Lucy was wearing a red velvet dress and carrying a small wrapped gift, her face bright with excitement. I opened the door before they could knock. Welcome home, sweetheart. Sarah hugged me tightly, whispering, Thank you for this chance, Dad. Lucy stood beside her mother, eyes wide as she took in the house where her grandfather lived. It's bigger than in the pictures, Mommy. Lucy, I said, kneeling down at her level, these are your cousins, Emma and Tyler. The magic of childhood took over immediately. Within minutes, the three kids were sprawled on the living room floor, Lucy showing Emma and Tyler the dollhouse photos on Sarah's phone while they told her about their school and friends. The tension in the room couldn't touch their natural connection. Jennifer watched this interaction with barely concealed horror, her perfect smile becoming more strained by the minute. When Lucy laughed at something Tyler said, Jennifer's jaw visibly tightened. Sarah, Jennifer said, her voice honey over broken glass, you look, well, I heard you've been busy in Seattle. Yes, very busy. My firm just finished designing the new children's hospital. How nice. Jennifer's tone suggested Sarah had mentioned designing a doghouse. I suppose some people need to stay busy to feel important. Sarah blinked at the obvious insult. But before she could respond, Ruth called us to dinner. The meal started awkwardly, with Marcus making stilted conversation about the weather and work, while Jennifer asked Sarah pointed questions about her situation in Seattle. But the kids kept things light, with Lucy charming everyone by asking if she could say grace because new grandpa taught me a special one. New grandpa. Emma asked, That's what I call him because I just met him. But Mommy says he's always been my grandpa. I just didn't know it yet. The simple innocence of that statement hit the table like a thunderbolt. Marcus looked stricken, finally understanding that I'd had a relationship with Sarah and Lucy that he'd known nothing about. Jennifer's fork clattered against her plate. Wayne, perhaps we should discuss. Actually, I interrupted, standing up slowly. There is something I need to discuss with everyone, something very important. I walked to the sideboard and picked up the manila folder I'd placed there that morning. Inside were printed emails, photographs, legal documents, and transcripts of recorded conversations. Months of evidence carefully organized and documented. For the past few months, I've been investigating some inconsistencies in our family relationships. Things that didn't add up, questions that needed answers. Jennifer's face went pale. Wayne, this is Christmas dinner. Surely whatever this is can wait. No, Jennifer, it can't wait any longer. I opened the folder and pulled out the first photograph. Sarah, do you recognize this? It was a picture of Lucy's 4th birthday party invitation, addressed to us in Sarah's careful handwriting. I sent that 3 years ago, Sarah said quietly. It came back marked, return to sender. Actually, it didn't come back. Jennifer intercepted it from our mailbox and returned it herself. I pulled out a printed screenshot from my security camera. Just like she intercepted your Christmas cards, your letters, your photos of Lucy growing up. Sarah's hand flew to her mouth. Oh my God. Jennifer has been systematically destroying any contact between our family and you for 5 years. Every birthday card, every photograph, every attempt you made to rebuild our relationship. She made sure we never saw it. That's impossible, Marcus said, but his voice was uncertain. I pulled out my digital recorder and pressed play. Jennifer's voice filled the room. Sarah's been out of the picture for 5 years. She has no relationship with Wayne anymore, no claim to being the dutiful daughter. Once the old man writes her out completely, we'll be set. The silence that followed was deafening. Lucy looked around the table with wide, confused eyes. Emma and Tyler stared at their mother as if seeing a stranger. Jennifer, Marcus said slowly, what is he talking about? It's taken out of context. Jennifer said desperately, Wayne, you're misunderstanding. I played another recording. Wayne Mitchell? He's a retired high school principal who thinks everyone tells the truth and plays fair. He spent his whole career trusting people and believing the best in them. He'll never see this coming. Jennifer stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. This is ridiculous. Marcus, we're leaving. Sit down, Jennifer. Marcus's voice was deadly quiet. I want to hear the rest of this. I continued methodically, laying out the evidence piece by piece. The intercepted mail, the recorded conversations about inheritance manipulation, Jennifer's research into my estate value, her systematic campaign to poison both Marcus against me and me against Sarah. She told you I was too intense with Emma and Tyler. I said to Marcus, but she also told me that you found my teaching annoying and wanted me to back off. She was manipulating both of us. Son. Marcus looked devastated. Dad, I never said... the kids love spending time with you. I was just trying to... You were trying to keep peace with your wife. I understand that. I pulled out another document. But Jennifer's been planning this for years. Since before Sarah's divorce, she's been working to write Sarah out of our family and secure your inheritance. What inheritance? Marcus asked. Dad, I never asked about. My estate is worth approximately $1.2 million. Jennifer knew that. You didn't. Marcus stared at his wife, pieces clicking into place. Is that what this has all been about? Money. Jennifer's composure finally cracked completely. You have no idea what I've sacrificed for this family. Watching your father favor Sarah over you for years. Listening to him compare you to his brilliant daughter who was too good for small-town life. I was protecting you, Marcus. Protecting our children from his favoritism and her manipulation. By lying to everyone? Sarah stood up, her voice shaking with years of suppressed hurt. By stealing my daughter's chance to know her grandfather? By making my father think I abandoned the family. You did abandon us. You chose your career over family, just like you always did. I chose to build a life after my divorce instead of wallowing in self-pity. I chose to succeed instead of depending on handouts. And I chose to keep trying to reach out to my family, even when you made it impossible. Jennifer grabbed her purse and coat. Marcus, we're leaving. Now. No. Marcus didn't move. I want to hear what Dad has to say. I pulled out the final document. 3 weeks ago, I had my attorney prepare a new will. A real one, not the fake documents Jennifer had prepared. I looked directly at Marcus. Everything goes to Sarah and Lucy. The house, the investments, the life insurance, all of it. Marcus's face went white. Dad. However, I continued, there's a provision. If you divorce Jennifer and spend the next year rebuilding your relationship with your sister, if you prove that you understand what family loyalty really means, then the inheritance will be split equally between you and Sarah. You can't be serious, Jennifer snarled. Marcus, he's trying to buy you. This is extortion. No, I said calmly. This is consequences. I'm not punishing you, son. I'm rewarding loyalty and honesty. Sarah never stopped trying to be part of this family, even when she was told she wasn't welcome. She's proven what family means. Jennifer grabbed Marcus's arm. We're leaving. Right now. Choose, Marcus. It's her or us. Your father's manipulation or your real family. Marcus looked around the table. At his children staring at their mother in shock. At Sarah crying quietly. At Lucy asking her mommy why everyone was upset. At me holding the evidence of 5 years of deception. I need time to think, he said finally. No. Jennifer's voice was shrill. You choose right now, or Emma and Tyler never see their grandfather again. We moved to Phoenix with my sister, and this whole toxic family can destroy itself without us. The ultimatum hung in the air like smoke from a funeral pyre. Marcus looked at his wife, then at his children, then at the sister he'd helped drive away. Get out, he said quietly. What? Get out of my father's house. Now. Jennifer stared at him for a moment, then grabbed her coat and stormed toward the door. Fine, but when you come crawling back, when you realize what you've thrown away for his money, don't expect me to be waiting. The front door slammed behind her, leaving the rest of us in stunned silence. Lucy's small voice broke the tension. Mommy, why was that lady so angry? Sarah pulled her daughter close. Sometimes, sweetheart, people get angry when they can't have what they want. Marcus sat staring at his hands, the weight of his choice and its consequences settling over him like a heavy blanket. Outside, we could hear Jennifer's car starting and driving away, taken with her 5 years of lies and manipulation, but also taking the unity of Marcus's small family, leaving him to choose between his children and his inheritance, between the wife he'd trusted and the father he'd nearly lost. The real test was just beginning. The hour after Jennifer stormed out felt like the longest of my life. Marcus sat at our dining room table, staring at his hands while Emma and Tyler quietly asked Sarah questions about Seattle, and Lucy showed them pictures on her phone. The children sensed the adult tension, but couldn't understand its magnitude. Finally, Marcus looked up at me. Dad, what happens now? That depends on you, son. Jennifer will divorce me if I apologize to Sarah. She'll take the kids and move to Phoenix like she threatened. I'll lose them. I set down my coffee cup carefully. Marcus, let me tell you something I learned in 38 years of dealing with difficult situations. The money isn't the point here. It never was. What do you mean? Character isn't something you inherit, son. Neither is family loyalty. Both have to be earned every single day through the choices you make. I gestured towards Sarah, who was helping Lucy cut her pie. Your sister has been trying to earn her place in this family for 5 years, even when she was told she wasn't welcome. She never stopped sending letters, never stopped trying to reach us, never gave up on the people who had given up on her. Marcus's eyes filled with tears. I helped drive her away. Yes, you did, but not because you're a bad person, because you trusted someone who was lying to you about what family means. So what do? I reached across the table and put my hand on his shoulder. You decide what kind of man you want to be, what kind of father, what kind of brother. The inheritance is just money, Marcus. But integrity? That's something no one can take away from you once you've earned it. Marcus stood up slowly and walked over to where Sarah was sitting with the children. Sarah, I need to talk to you. She looked up, her face guarded but hopeful. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for everything. For believing Jennifer's lies about you, for not standing up for you during your divorce, for letting our father think you'd abandoned us. His voice broke. I was a coward, and I lost the best sister anyone could ask for. Sarah stood and hugged him, both of them crying openly. I forgive you, Marcus. I missed you so much. I missed you too. I don't know how to fix this. Jennifer will take Emma and Tyler if I choose you and Dad. Then we'll figure out together, Sarah said. That's what families do. But Marcus couldn't find that kind of courage, not yet. When Jennifer returned an hour later with her ultimatum, apologize to Sarah and lose his children, or leave with her and keep his family intact, Marcus chose Jennifer. He left that night with Emma and Tyler, both children crying as they hugged their new cousin goodbye. Lucy didn't understand why her cousins had to leave, why the angry lady had taken them away. I watched my son walk out my house, knowing he was making the biggest mistake of his life. But sometimes, as any teacher knows, people have to learn the hard way. 3 months later, Marcus called me from a hotel room in Phoenix. Dad, I think I made a terrible mistake. Tell me. Jennifer, without your inheritance to motivate her, she's become someone I don't recognize. She's bitter all the time, angry that her plan didn't work. She controls everything, where I work, who I talk to, what the kids can do. She's isolated us from everyone, including her own family. I see. She's furious that Emma and Tyler keep asking about Lucy, about when they can see their new cousin again. Yesterday, she told them they don't have a cousin, that Sarah's family doesn't exist. Marcus's voice was hollow. Dad, what kind of person tells children forget their family? Someone who never understood what family means in the first place. I want to come home. I want to make this right. But I don't know how. Start with your sister. She's the one you hurt the most. It took Marcus another month to find the courage, but he finally called Sarah. They talked for 3 hours, with Marcus admitting how completely he'd been manipulated, and Sarah sharing 5 years of pain and loneliness. When he called me afterward, he sounded like a different person. "Dad, I'm filing for divorce. I'm going to fight for custody of Emma and Tyler. And I want to come home. The inheritance. I don't care about the inheritance. I care about being the man you raised me to be." That's when I knew my son had finally learned what I'd been trying to teach him. The custody battle was brutal. Jennifer fought him with the same vicious calculation she'd used to manipulate our family. But this time Marcus had something he'd lacked before: the truth and united family supporting him. Sarah flew to Phoenix to testify as a character witness. Ruth and I provided sworn statements about Jennifer's manipulation and deception. The evidence I gathered, the intercepted mail, the recorded conversations, the systematic isolation campaign, painted a clear picture of a woman who prioritized money over children's well-being. 1 year later, Marcus had full custody of Emma and Tyler, who were thriving in their grandfather's house while he rebuilt his life. Jennifer had moved back to Phoenix permanently, visiting the children twice a year and growing more distant each time. More importantly, my family was healing. Sarah's architecture firm had expanded into a second office, this one in Columbus, allowing her to spend more time near us. Lucy was enrolled in the same elementary school Emma and Tyler attended, and the three cousins were inseparable. Marcus had changed profoundly. The entitled attitude Jennifer had cultivated in him was gone, replaced by humility and genuine appreciation for what he'd almost lost. He worked hard to rebuild trust with Sarah, supporting her business expansion and never taking for granted the grace she'd shown in forgiving him. The day the newel was finalized, splitting everything equally between Marcus and Sarah, with trust funds for all three grandchildren, I felt a satisfaction deeper than any I'd known as an educator. But the real victory came 6 months later, at Marcus's house for 4th of July cookout. The same backyard where this had all started, but everything was different now. I watched Emma, Tyler, and Lucy building an elaborate sand castle together, working as a team to solve engineering problems and create something beautiful. Tyler was teaching Lucy the grilling techniques I'd taught him, passing down family traditions with the same patience I tried to show him. "Grandpa Wayne," Lucy called out, "will you help us build a moat? Tyler says you're the best at moats." "I'd be honored," I said, kneeling down in the sand. Marcus came over and knelt beside me, just like he had when he was Tyler's age. "Mind if I help? I could use a refresher course in proper foundation building." As we worked together, 3 generations solving problems and creating something lasting, I thought about the journey that had brought us here, about the choice to investigate rather than accept, to fight for truth rather than settle for comfort, to risk losing everything in order to save what really mattered. Sarah appeared with lemonade for the construction crew, her face glowing with contentment. "You know, Dad, Lucy asked me yesterday if Grandpa Wayne could teach her to fish." "I'd love to take her fishing," I said. "All 3 of them, if Marcus wants to come." "I'd like that," Marcus said quietly. "I'd like that very much." That evening, as Ruth and I cleaned up after the perfect family gathering, I reflected on everything I had learned, about the difference between being feared and being respected, about the courage it takes to protect your family from those who would exploit their love, about the patience required to let people learn from their own mistakes. Most importantly, I'd learned that sometimes saving your family means being willing to lose part of it. That true love doesn't enable destructive behavior. It demands better. Standing in my kitchen, listening to the sound of children's laughter in the backyard, and knowing that all 3 of my grandchildren felt safe and loved and valued, I understood something that had taken me 66 years to figure out. Respect isn't inherited. It's earned. And so is family. The people who truly belong in your life are the ones who choose to be there when they could walk away, who fight for the relationship when it would be easy to give up, who value connection over convenience and love over money. Jennifer had taught me that family isn't about blood or marriage or shared history. It's about character, loyalty, and the daily choice to put the people you love ahead of your own selfish interests. In the end, I'd won more than an inheritance dispute. I'd won back my daughter, gained a granddaughter I never knew existed, and taught my son the difference between being a good man and just appearing to be one. It had taken me 38 years of teaching to learn the most important lesson of all. Sometimes the people we trust most are the ones we should trust least, and sometimes protecting the people we love means being willing to lose them. But when you fight for what's right instead of what's easy, when you choose truth over comfort and integrity over peace, you don't just save your family, you save yourself. If you enjoyed this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your opinions of this story in the comments. To listen to more stories, click on one of the boxes showing on your screen. Thank you for watching.